Knox County Sheriff Tom Spangler says his deputies are making almost daily trips to mental health facilities as far away as Chattanooga. The sheriff says it is a problem across the state. Deputies in Tennessee are often required to transport patients from a hospital to a specialized mental health care facility. He says there are several problems with the way the system works now, including potentially violent patients and officers' time as well as safety. He also says his deputies don't have the extensive training required to deal with those patients.
We may have someone that they want us to transport either from a hospital or to a facility, either here locally or across the state of Tennessee, that we have to transport, and they may say, well, we've had to give them something to sedate them. Well, our officers aren't trained to, if something starts to happen to these individuals, they have no idea of what to do.
The Knox County Sheriff says the Tennessee Sheriff's Association will make a priority to change the policy this year. Sheriff Spangler says he also plans to talk about the problem with local lawmakers.
Let's turn to your forecast. It was a sunny day.